morning, everybody. Welcome to the Girls San Juan College Coaches Panel. My name is Bernardo Silva. I'm the ECNL Girls Director here at San Juan Soccer Club, and I'm joined here today by Matt McDougall, who is my colleague and who assists with college recruitment on the boys' side as well of our club. We appreciate you all being here. Coaches, thank you all for being here today. We are now officially recording this coaches panel. The link to this recording will be available to all prospective student athletes that are interested in the college recruitment process, and it'll be posted on our San Juan YouTube channel probably in the next few days. A couple of action items I just want to go over before we dive into the questions to the coaches. In order to make everything NCAA compliant, the college coaches here will be talking in general terms about the college recruitment process and the current landscape of college recruiting. And through this panel, the way it's going to work is we'll be asking questions to the coaches specifically, and then open it up to after each question for coaches to chime in. And add anything that they would like to add to that specific question. We're going to start by asking some general recruitment questions, and then move on to questions that apply a little bit more to the current landscape and with COVID-19 and how that has affected, everybody and specifically the college recruitment process. To get us started today, we're going to have each coach introduce themselves. Tell us what their position is with that specific school, obviously the school they're representing, and what division and conference they coach in. So without further ado, Coach Curtis, you can start, get us started here.
Yeah, hi. My name is Curtis McAllister. I'm an assistant for Santa Clara University, Division I. Our conference is the West Coast Conference.
Hi, I'm Austin Reisenhuber. I'm the associate head coach at Cal Berkeley. We play in the Pac-12, Division I.
Hi, everybody. This is Kim Sutton. I coach at Chico State. We are in the California Collegiate Athletic Association and a Division II institution.
Hi, everybody. I'm Frank Marino. I'm the head coach at Cal Lutheran University. We play in the SCIAC in Southern California, Division III.
Fantastic. Thank you again, everybody, for being here on a Sunday. Appreciate you guys some time out of your days to do this for us. We're going to start with a question to Coach Frank Marino at Cal Lutheran. The question is, when players are researching colleges to be a potential prospective student athletes, what type of things should they be considering when looking at different schools?
Well, one of the things we start with is we want them to choose a school that they're going to be happy at no matter whether they're playing soccer or not. We always tell them pick the school first, the soccer's a bonus. So, look at a lot of different aspects, the location, the academics, private or public. There's a stat out there that more than 50% of students end up living in the same area they go to college after they graduate because they find internships and work. So it's really important when you're looking at a school that you find a school that fits your needs, because there's a good chance you may be staying there for a long time. You also want to make sure that the major fits perfectly. It's something that's going to help you for the future. And then you want to really talk to those coaches and get to know those coaches. Is it an environment you want to be in, the type of culture you want to be in? And get a feel for the team. What are the team dynamics and aspects that are going on? I think all those things are important. And then you got to weigh, obviously, one of the most important factors is cost, right? Looking at different costs, and all schools vary. So there's private schools that have lots of merit scholarship. There's public schools that are less money. There's obviously scholarship opportunities at some of the other levels. So you've got to factor everything in. But for my advice, the biggest thing is find a place you're going to be happy no matter what happens. There's things outside your control, injuries and other things that could happen that could affect your playing career. So being at a place where you're really comfortable and you like the school, I think is most important.
Fantastic. We talked with our kids here at San Juan specifically about finding the right fit. We use that term, finding the right fit, and the right fit is different for everybody. Any other coach want to chime in and add something to this answer?
Well,
Yeah.
this is Kim. I think it's really important to meet the team and find out, get to ask them lots of questions about what's it like to be a student athlete there, what's the athletic culture like around the athletic department, what do they do, how do they hang out, to really get a feel of sort of a day in the life of a student athlete on that campus. And so meeting the team and asking them kind of questions is a important piece.
Thank you, Kim. Anybody else? Well, good, fantastic. Well, thank you guys for answering that one. Yeah, the next question is going to be for Coach Curtis at Santa Clara. When do college coaches typically start evaluating players? Sophomores, juniors, seniors, whatever that looks like. And when do the conversations with those players typically start?
Well, about a year ago, the NCAA instituted some new recruiting legislation. And I think in the old model, and I would probably say in today's recruiting still, that as soon as 8th grade. But I would also add that I think there's a lot of programs that are still walking around, if we were in a normal recruiting cycle and out of a dead period, and we weren't going through this pandemic, was players are being added anywhere this time, maybe in their senior year. So, I think as early as 8th grade. But I think the big part too is to maybe highlight what an overall summary of all these new recruiting legislation rules look like. All of the following can begin after June 15th at the completion of a prospect's sophomore year in high school. Programs can send out recruiting materials. Telephone calls can be initiated by respective programs. We can no longer accept incoming calls by prospects before June 15th of their sophomore year. And then verbal offers and athletic aid can start after those dates. And then beginning August 1st at the start of their junior year, off-campus contacts can begin, recruiting conversations at camps and clinics can also happen, and then official and unofficial visits can start happening. So, the new legislation was put in place to recruit or to curb this early recruiting. So that's where we're at today.
Fantastic. Well, great detail there. Anybody else would like to add anything? Yeah, Coach Kim.
Just the difference there's some small differences from Division I and Division II, and it's a very important one for Division II, and NAI obviously is real different in junior colleges, but a prospect prior to June 15th, preceding their junior year, may still call a Division II coach. And we can answer that phone call and have conversations with them, and they still may visit a campus, and we may still have contact with them on their own initiation of a campus visit, again, prior to their June 15th, preceding their junior year. So that's a big difference between Division I and Division II.
Thank you. Yeah, Coach Frank.
Yeah, Bernardo, similar to what Kim just said about Chico, we also can have communication actually as early as their freshman year, as long as they reach out to us. As long as they make the initial contact, then we can have open communications. It's one of the key differences in Division III, mainly because there's no financial athletic scholarship. So there's this ability to have open communication to sort of build relationships with players prior to that.
Fantastic. And this is the value of obviously us putting a college coaches panel with Division I, Division II, and Division III coaches. You can start seeing the different perspectives and the different nuances to every rule and obviously every conference and division. So thank you guys for providing that. Moving on to the next question, Coach Frank. This one is again you. What are you generally looking for? And obviously there's three parts to this question. Let's start with emails. When a prospective student athlete sends you an email, what are things that you're generally looking to receive in that email? And then, go emails, and then go videos. Obviously there's all sorts of videos that get sent to you guys. What is an ideal video look like, to a college coach, and then tackle ID camps, and the value of those, and what should prospective student athletes that arrive ID camp should be looking to do, or to make sure that they get showcased the best way possible. So we'll go emails, videos, and then ID camps, and we'll open it up after to everybody to talk.
All right, I'll start with obviously start with the emails. I think the biggest thing for us is to see that they have some general interest in our school. They'll go to these showcases and go through the list, and they'll copy and paste, and they'll send every single coach on the list an email, and we can kind of figure out what those look like after you read them. Some key things, like, do they talk about something about our school? Have they actually looked at our website? Do they reference a major we actually have? You love the ones you get where you get an email and we're talking about a major they want. We don't even offer the major. So you want to know that they actually have looked at our school and have some interest. I think so. In general, when you're looking at schools, you want to put something in that email that it shows the coach on the other end that you've actually done some research on that school before sending the email. And I think that's really important, because that helps us differentiate between a form email and maybe a real email. And I think that's super important. And then the details in the email. I think the most frustrating thing for all of us here is when we're going to a tournament or an event and they don't list their jersey number, the field, the time of the game, what position they play. Something is missing. And then we're trying to figure out, exactly where this kid is at to go see. So I think those are really important to make sure all the information's there. The grad year, even in the subject line of the email, is super important. I know at the higher divisions, especially with the recruiting rules, that's even significantly important, so they know. Moving on to, you said, next you said emails.
Videos.
What?
Videos.
Videos. I think videos right now are super important. It's about the only thing we can watch at this point. So I think doing that, obviously we're not going to sit, I think with the volume of emails that we get, we're not going to be able to sit and watch game after game. But I love to see 10 to 15 minutes maybe of a game. Highlight reels, everybody can have a highlight. So I think highlight reels are for me not as valuable. I'd love to see just a good 10 or 15 minutes of somebody playing, just to give us an idea, how they read the game, their movement off the ball, all those different aspects that you're looking for. So I personal preference, I would say definitely don't want a highlight reel, because I think anybody who's creative with video can put together a fantastic highlight reel. And then ID camps, I think, are a really important aspect to look at. It's a really great way to get to know the school, the coach, some of the players on the team, get a feel for how school goes. I really think it is the best way to get a clear interaction of what goes on that campus, what the culture of the team is, how does the coach coach, how does he interact with players. And I think it's such a valuable tool. I really do. And I think the ones that are more personal, where you can go to that school's ID camp, really have a great impact on the recruiting process. And I don't know if the other coaches on the panel agree, but I think the ones where it's more personal really do help, or ones where there's a handful of coaches where you're going to have at least some interaction with that coach throughout the day. I think that's really important as well.
Thank you, Coach. It was a long answer. Appreciate your thoughts. Yeah, I think, does anybody have anything to add? Obviously, there's a lot of great information there, and we'll tackle the ID camp piece here in a little bit with a different kind of question as well, just in terms of what camps that prospective student athletes should be and should be attending preferably, or what are the options out there. Anybody else have anything to add to this answer in terms of emails, videos, ID camps, anything that Coach Frank didn't tackle? Everybody good? Fantastic. Thank you, Coach. The next question that I would like to get Coach Austin from Cal to answer is to talk a little bit about obviously the differences between unofficial visits and official visits. Obviously, the new legislation and potential dates that go with those, and but just the differences between unofficial visits and official visits as it pertains to the recruitment process, and any sort of recommendations, general recommendations that you would have.
So the difference of an unofficial is essentially you're coming on your own dime. An official is the school's paying for it. I think one thing, and again, my time at Santa Barbara to my time now here coaching kids, and let's use San Juan, for example, I don't think kids get on campuses enough just to see what they're like. So, for example, if San Juan's playing in VLA, why are they not stopping by Santa Clara or Berkeley a bit one time to see how they feel on that campus? Because again, I think we're all kind of, you're going to look at size, you're going to look at, do you want a smaller school, big school? So again, if you get on that campus and you have a feeling for it, I think that's an initial start of the process. And again, from flying to Phoenix to flying to, New Jersey, there's all kinds of schools that players go by almost every game. And I personally don't think they take enough time just to stop and see what it's about. The second piece is, Curtis hit on it a little bit earlier, you can't do an official visit until August 1st now. So what that means is if you set up a visit to come and have a conversation with the coach, they're not allowed to show you around the campus until August 1st of your junior year. So if you do set up an official visit after that, the coach is able to walk around with you, interact, bring you into the office, et cetera, et cetera. Now official, and this is something that I think kids should keep in mind. If you take an official visit for your junior year or whatever, let's say that group does an official visit as a team or as a group like we've done in the past, like most colleges have done in the past their senior year, you would then have to pay to go to that trip. So I think you got to choose your official visits wisely and how to use them and when to use them. But official visits at that point, coaches in the school can pay for you guys to come on their campus. So again, I think before August 1st, I would highly recommend that you stop by as many campuses as you can see, big, small. And again, the divisions doesn't really matter at that point. You're trying to get a feel if you could see yourself at that school. And then the second piece is, once you've kind of done that your sophomore year or so, freshman, sophomore year, now you can really narrow down the time that you want to spend to go spend official visit or unofficial visits with coaches and walk around campuses. So I would highly recommend that you kind of take some time on your own to go, but then after August 1st is really the importance of walking around, getting to meet players possibly and being with coaches, et cetera, et cetera. And then the official visit is the landscape's changed a little bit with the new rule, but you get one official visit that the school can pay for you to come on that campus. So I know everybody's using those a little bit different. So I would look in to see how those, because again, if you use it your junior year, you can't go on an official visit your senior year. You only get one to that school.
Awesome. Thank you, Coach. Anybody on the panel would like to add anything?
Yeah, the only thing I would to add to what Austin said is he ended with, you can only take 5 official visits, but one thing the new legislation did do was they said you can now take an official visit in your junior year, which that was not the case under the old NCAA guidelines. You could only go in your senior year. So just to give those the prospects an idea also that they can also go on an official visit in their junior year, but let's say they end up committing to University X, they would not be able to go on a second official visit even after making a commitment to that university. So just to elaborate on that a little bit.
And I think Curtis is spot on. So I think that's where I feel it's important you kind of ask the coaches how they use their officials, right? Because in years past, you bring in almost the whole class together on an official so they can be with each other, et cetera, et cetera. So for that is, I think it's new to, before you get on the plane or you drive down and use your official visit, I think you should visit with the coach, because Curtis is right. You can start your junior year. So make sure I would almost ask how they use their official visits. Are they going to come in as a class? If they are, then I'll just pay for myself this time, and it would be an unofficial. So that's just an important question, as I know, you don't, it's an important question as you're navigating through this process.
Coach, this question is going to be for Coach Kim. Coach Kim, do you as a college coach have a preference in players attending, individual camps, specific university camps or large ID camps, or can you talk to us a little bit about the difference between the two, and maybe even the benefits of both, depending on what you're looking at and where prospective student athlete is in their process?
Yeah, of course. So I think the student athlete really needs to be sure they know what the camp is all about and what the numbers are going to be like and who's going to be at the camp. The smaller camps at each institution, I think, are their best benefit, but they have to know that the coaches are going to be there and run those camps, and are the players going to be there, and what else do they get as part of a benefit? Austin mentioned we do a lot of visits the day before the camp. That's can be an additional good time to see the campus as a regular student for a day, and then attend a camp on a Saturday. So there's a lot of benefits of the institutional ID camps. I think there's also benefit. You're always going to get seen more the more camps you attend. So the larger camps that have particular coaches attending those camps, I just think they have to do their homework and ask which college coaches are going to be at those camps, and are those realistic opportunities and appropriate institutions for them to be recruited at, and communicate with their club coaches that if you're attending a camp that's loaded with Power 5 conference coaches and that's not a realistic opportunity for you, then maybe it's not your best moment. Or if there's 300 kids at that camp, how much time are you going to get with certain coaches, because you may not actually get to be coached by all of those coaches or even seen by them. So they have to do their homework. But I think any opportunity you have to get out and put yourself in front of college coaches is a good opportunity. I think they just have to know what their goals are and what directly, as they narrow their choices, the particular institution camps are better.
Fantastic, Coach. Anybody else have anything to add in the panel in terms of that? Awesome. Well, that is those five questions that we wanted to ask all the college coaches here in terms of the general recruitment process. We have 3 more questions here, just pertaining to the now and the current landscape, and the time period that we're kind of living right now, that is obviously uncertain, and I think we're kind of all in the same boat in different ways. But if you guys can shed some light on these topics, that would be really nice, I think, for everybody to kind of see your guys' position as well as college coaches. So this question is for Coach Austin at Cal. So what are college coaches looking for, at this time from potential recruits? Obviously with the shutdown period and COVID-19 and, the dead period that we're all, facing, in recruiting and everything. What are you specifically looking for from recruits at this time?
Well, I'm going to speak generally to keep it general of what I think most of my colleagues think, not just Cal. I think generally speaking, we are, I think Frank hit on it earlier, like, all we can do right now is virtual. So is it a highlight video? Is it clips? Is it a full game? So I think there's different avenues, different routes to send it. So, and I also think, as Frank mentioned earlier in an email, that you put your jersey number and you put your, position in an email. I also feel with it becoming closer to June 15th, a cell phone, an email that we could copy, I know the email will have it, but reiterating your email, because on June 15th, we can start to reach out. So if we do like the highlight video or the clips, that we can reach out. I do feel like most of my friends, a highlight video of 2 to 3 minutes to catch the eye. Maybe a second one would be more clips, 4 to 5 minutes. And then maybe you follow up with, I know, again, some of my friends are watching more half of games, full games that are getting sent out. So I think with what's going on in the world right now, virtual is pretty much all we could do. So any email, any way that we could get clips sent to us via email, via text. I've actually had a couple recruits tag us on their doing individuals in their garage. So I think we're just all kind of figuring out the virtual way of how to go about this. But again, I would highly recommend that you continue in a virtual way of getting yourself out there as much as you can. And again, I think it was Frank that talked about it earlier. We're getting bombarded with emails, so it doesn't need to be a 15-minute clip to go. So if it's 2-3 minutes, your cell phone, your information, that coaches can reach out to you, starting June 15th, or if you are a 21 or a 20, they can reach out to you immediately and get going on maybe a full game or clips even further along. Because this will eventually go away, and when it goes away, then we go back to the normal process. But that's how I would handle it, or continue to handle it as young players are going through this.
Thank you, Coach. Does anybody else in the panel would like to add anything?
I think with Division III not having a dead period, we're obviously allowed to communicate. So one of the things we're taking advantage of is getting to know those players really well. We have the opportunity to Zoom, to talk with them more via phone, just to have a better idea of who they are as people, not just players. And I'm talking more so ones we've already seen or had some contact with, but it really is allowing us to make sure they fit our culture, our team culture, and what we're looking for. And it's really opened up, I think, an avenue to get to know the person even more than you normally would because of the circumstances.
Absolutely. I think one of the things that we've also talked with our players has been the importance, and I think this period has really highlighted that, is the importance of highlight clips and games and filming your games and putting stuff together. So I think as a club we've found that is an essential part, of people making sure that they're doing it and regularly updating it, because now it's the only way to get showcased for these last few months, and who knows, moving forward. So I think it's made us better as a club overall this period, and we're trying to come out of it stronger, specifically with that. So that's awesome. The next question will be for Coach Curtis from Santa Clara. What will be, and I know that there's a lot of uncertainty here, but what will be the process from college coaches' perspective, this dead period ends, which obviously there's an uncertainty as well, but we what does that look like in terms of attending tournaments, phone calls, camps, what does that look like from a college coach's perspective, generally speaking?
Well, as we all talked about before the presentation started, this is all hypothetical and what ifs, just depending on when the stay-at-home orders are lifted for all of our respective communities. But I think in addition to that, we are currently under, at least for Division I, a dead period until May 31st. And it really depends on when the NCAA allows all of the programs to come back together for, a modified or an extended preseason. We, being a fall sport, we all lost our competitive spring seasons. So, hopefully the NCAA will allow us to play some catch up during July, maybe, just depending on what the stay-at-home order holds for us all. But that impacts maybe what we're talking about, for attending some tournaments. I know there was some talk of maybe some summer tournaments or, locally some NPL leagues and that being started in the summer. But I'm sure people would try to attend. It just depends on what their respective college teams would be doing. And, as for phone calls, nothing has changed. Everyone's going to operate within their rules and guidelines for whatever division their respective schools are in. Summer camps and ID clinics, some people have already indicated that those summer camps, their athletic departments have already told them that they will not be conducting on-campus summer camps and ID clinics. But again, it's just dependent upon each respective department's guidelines, we're all hopeful that we'll play in the fall. And if our fall season does get underway, I would imagine you're going to see more foot traffic at some local tournaments if they have, if tournaments do happen in the fall, and maybe start to see more coaches at local club trainings and scrimmages and the like. But, all hypothetical at this point, but I think everyone's going to make their best effort just given what the guidelines get passed down from community to community.
Awesome, Coach. Thank you. Anybody else would like to add to that? Yeah, when we've tried to emphasize that to our players and families, that everybody's going through this, and so the uncertainties for everybody, for both for college coaches as it is for prospective student athletes. So I think that answer kind of helps clarify and reinforce that statement. This last question that we have, obviously, our club has gone trying to be really creative in terms of what we're offering our prospective student athletes, our membership overall, just during this time period, whether it's virtual workouts or team meetings, via Zoom, and so we've done a lot of different things. But Coach Kim, what are some suggestions that you have for players, at this time for workouts? And again, generally speaking, general suggestions that you think, from ball work to weights to fitness to to whatever that looks like for you and for coaches right now. What are suggestions that you have?
Yeah, I think, all these moments in life, you can look at them as a silver lining and promote an opportunity for players to really be on their own and proactive and find solutions and leadership and all kinds of moments for them. So doing all of the above, everything you mentioned, there's just an amazing amount of free information. Everything right now online is free. And, if you have, strength coach like we do and most schools do, many Division I obviously, and many Division II have full-time strength coaches that are offering virtual workouts. Players can lead workouts with their teammates and encourage them to do stuff. I think this is a wonderful opportunity where, given social distancing, working with the ball on your own or with one other person with the distancing and getting that individual work that so many of our players lack and don't spend time on. I think it's great time for that, and reflect on where their needs are and find something particular that they can develop and learn training habits that they have to do on their own now. So I think it's a great opportunity for all of that. And the ones that aren't taking advantage of that are going to fall behind. And, the more encouraging we can be for our players to all get out and continue to improve on their craft and maybe find a new avenue of their craft that they're not particularly strong in to work on, and find ways to feel good about themselves and get outside and, do the sprints that they need to do or do the ball work that they need to do is really valuable timing. And, I'd love to see, I think most of us as coaches would love to see our prospective student athletes doing those kind of things and showing that they can train on their own.
Absolutely. Anybody would like to add to that?
I think Kim's spot on, by the way. This is an incredible opportunity for them individually to improve themselves. And you don't get those kind of opportunities in the normal situation because of all the things they're involved in. So for as awful as this thing is, and it's awful, they at least have an opportunity from an individual standpoint to make themselves as best as possible, to continue to work. And you'll have a way to see which ones are truly disciplined and will put in the work in these kind of times. It'll say a lot about that player.
And to add on,
sorry, go ahead.
No, and to add on to that, you're going through a process that every college kid goes through, every college player goes through every year. We sometimes the last time
Mhm.
colleges see their kids are May 1st, and we don't get them back till August 1st. So they're off doing their own thing for May, June, and July anyway. So what club players are going through now is essentially what college players go through every summer. So to learn what works for you, what doesn't work for you, is super beneficial, because the amount of players that we probably all get that show up August 1st, next thing you know, it's the end of November and December, and their freshman year is gone because they didn't train the right way to get ready for the season. And next thing you know, they only have 3 seasons left. And then the kids that do prepare give themselves a fighting chance in the fall. So for any college program. So I guess, a message that even that you're going through what a typical college player goes through every summer, every year anyway. So the positive of it is you're learning it 9th, 10th, 11th grade, and you're going to figure out what works for you, what doesn't work for you, what helps you in fitness, what doesn't help you in fitness, what helps you technically, what doesn't help you technically. On top of trying to grow your game, you're going to go through a process now that all college players go through every summer anyway.
Absolutely, and I think thank you for the clapping there, Coach Frank, because I think you obviously, I think what Coach Austin just touched on is, it's perspective, right? Trying to add perspective, to this time period in terms of, preparing for what's ahead for all of them. So I think that's a great point. We talk with our kids about that specifically, about being intrinsically motivated to do stuff. And this time is really exposing that and really showing that, like, okay, how much do you love the sport? How much do you love the game? How intrinsically motivated are you to be doing the little things? So I think you're spot on, and that kind of segues to my last question today is, which I think Coach Austin just kind of provided his advice, or any general words of advice for prospective student athletes at this time. But Coach Curtis, Coach Kim, Coach Frank, what general words of advice do you have for prospective student athletes at this time? Anything, and you guys can maybe Coach, whoever wants to start, and then kind of popcorn to the next person as we conclude this panel today.
I think there's, kids are missing the game. We're all missing our jobs, we're missing our teams, and we're missing each other around the game. And what a great moment to really sit back and value what they're going to come back to and try to remember. So, journaling things or writing down, what you miss most about not being around our favorite sport, and not forget it later when you get the opportunity to come back to train, and what valuable lessons we can take from this, and what better we can be as, players and teammates. This is, again, it's a moment where we have to take advantage of what we can gain from this instead of what we're missing from it.
Awesome. Fantastic. Who wants to go? Coach Frank, Coach Curtis, any last words of advice, generally speaking?
I've got 2 points. I think kind of touching on Kim's. I think the biggest thing they can do is continue to build relationships with their teammates. One of the things that kind of mirrors, Austin talked about how it mirrors college a little bit. And I think, the ability to connect and grow relationships during this time, even though it's virtual, is incredible. And the chance to really get to know people, talk with them, communicate with them. I think that aspect of it is really, really important. And then the second piece is just become the best you can be. You really have a chance to individually continue to improve and become better than you've ever been individually. You can become magical on the ball and all those things. And I think that's really the underlying opportunity here is for them to be able to do that.
Yeah, I think the only thing I would add is, we're all hopeful that this stay-at-home order gets lifted sooner than later, but I would find balance without risk. We're losing some time all individually and collectively within our club teams and within our college teams, but let's not jump back into risky situations unnecessarily. We'll all get back to it in due time, and are missing a little bit of fitness or missing a little touch on the ball. But in the grand scheme, our health and well-being and families, as Frank said, are the most important thing, staying connected. And that's all I would finish with.
Absolutely. It's interesting, we had Janine Becky, who's a professional player, that plays at Man City. We have a club wide together kind of thing that we do every single Thursday. And she shared something that, she's a professional player at Man City. She played at Real Colorado, but she's like, I have found a new way of doing fitness, which is dance cardio. And you're talking about a professional player at Man City finding a creative way to stay fit and to have fun, so she's not all into dance cardio at home, because in Colorado, where she's from, it's snowing and she's kind of quarantined, and here you are, a professional player that you think has all this regimented, workouts, and she's having fun with it, and she's getting fit at the same time. So I think it's all about perspective. Absolutely. And I just want to thank on behalf of San Juan for all your time today. And obviously wish you and your families, to continue to be safe and well during this time period. Enjoy your family time, which I know a lot of you are getting at this time, and so are we. And we look forward to seeing you all soon out on the field recruiting and out at our games at San Juan. And we're obviously open doors to anytime that you guys want to come and see our players. We're excited to have you guys. But thank you so much for your time on behalf of San Juan Soccer Club. Take care, guys.